So I'm Amy. I live about 3 blocks from here, and I discovered pickleball 6 years ago walking to the library, and I was immediately hooked. Safety first. Safety first. About half of our injuries happen on people's first day, and it is absolutely not worth getting injured. Mosh he's got a scar. He's got a good scar to show from his injury. Half the injuries happen on people's first day. Okay, so safety points. Never ever go backwards. Okay, I learned this when I started studying pickleball, but it's a good lesson for life in general. Just don't go backwards. Okay, you trip on a dog or you trip on a curb or something. It's not worth it. If you fall backwards, you risk landing on your head. So landing on your head is a particularly bad injury. Okay. If the ball is here and it's going to be over your head and you're looking up and back, your balance starts to shift and you can fall backwards. So if the ball's going to be there, just turn around and run for it. Okay. Or you can turn sideways and go like this. But don't go like this. If you go like that, you'll do what Mosh did, which is looking back and running back and falling back and thinking, uh-oh, I don't want to fall on my head, so I'm going to put my hand out. And instead of landing on his head, he landed on his hand and broke his wrist. Okay? So don't go backwards. None of you is still 20 years old, okay? When you're 10 and 15 years old, you climb trees and you do cartwheels and you leap and you fall off your bike and your body's made out of rubber and it just bounces right back and nothing bad happens. But when you're a little bit older and your bones are more brittle and your balance isn't as good, when you leap, you don't always land on your feet. So what we have seen here over and over again with people who, especially people who were very athletic when they were young, and then they raised kids and they had careers and they were a little bit less active, and then they come back out to the pickleball courts and they say, wow, this is great, I can do this. And their brain is still 10 or 15 years old, and the brain says, go chase that ball, and the body says, I'm not doing that anymore. And so people's body gets out ahead of their feet and they fall down and break a wrist. Okay? Let the ball go. If it's over there, just watch it go by. Don't worry about it at all. If it's over your head, just watch it go by and then go walk and get it. So injuries are not worth it. Tennis shoes are designed to be stable with this motion. Tennis shoes, pickleball shoes, court shoes, something like that. Hiking shoes and walking shoes and workout shoes are generally designed for this motion. So if you find that you are going to be playing a lot, it's worth investing $80 or $90 in a pair of tennis shoes. Go this way. Court etiquette. I'm going to go through 3 or 4 things of court etiquette that are super important. These are the things that bother the regular players, the people who have been playing for a long time. When a newcomer comes in and they don't understand the sort of structure of how this whole place operates. If my ball goes into another court, I never ever run in after a ball into another court. Okay, if I run into that court, somebody else is focused on hitting the ball and they don't see me and we collide and fall over. Okay, if my ball goes into another court, I scream loudly, ball on. Okay. That's how I announce that there's a loose ball. It's a risk for that court because somebody may not see it and trip and skid out. So if my ball is loose and it's going into somebody else's court, I scream ball on loudly. If I hear somebody scream ball on and I'm playing a rally, I'm having a really good time, if I hear somebody scream ball on, I just stop play. Okay, I just stop the point, I don't keep playing. I don't want to be the one tripping and skidding on a ball that's loose. Pick it up. Don't kick it out of the way like some people have a bad habit of doing. They're having so much fun themselves they don't realize that when they kick it, it goes to somebody else who didn't want it. So pick it up, make eye contact with the person who wants it. Rob, here's the ball. Toss it to a person. Okay? The next safety and court etiquette. If there's people playing a game and the ball is in play, don't walk next to or behind that court while the ball is in play. Okay? That person may not hit you, they come back, they swing their paddle, and they whack you. That's the safety hazard. The etiquette hazard is it's very, very distracting to people playing a game to have somebody walking behind the court, right? If I'm playing on this court and there's people walking back and forth, it's like, wait a minute, who's where? So if you need to move from one side to the other, there's gates at both ends, and there's gates on both sides. So if I needed to go from here to the farthest court, I would go out the gate and around and in. If I need to go from here to the next court, I would just stand on the side and wait until their rally is finished and the ball is not in play, and then say I need to come by, or I'm right behind you, get their attention. Okay, the next etiquette thing I normally talk about later, but I'm going to group it with etiquette, is line calls, whether the ball is in or out. Okay, when I'm playing a game, the ball bounces and it's really close to the line, I have to decide if it's in or out. The receiving side makes the determination, is the ball in or out. Okay, if you're playing in a fancy tournament, you have a referee and you don't have to worry about it. If you're playing at the park, we're all trying to get along with each other, so the overarching rule is to be generous to your opponent. Okay, so I make the call. If it's so close I can't tell, I give it to my opponent. I don't say, well, I couldn't really tell, could we play it over again? If Paige and I are partners and I say that was in, that's in. If I say it's out and she says, no, Amy, I think it was in, we don't argue with each other. If one of us thinks it's in, it goes to our opponent's favor. The next etiquette thing is minor, but benches are for butts, not for bags. So when you come, either put your bag on the ground, which is kind of dirty, and if you don't want to do that, get a clip of some sort and hang it from the fence. Okay? It's a little bit awkward if a bench is completely full of bags and I want to sit down. I don't really want to put somebody's bag onto the ground because I don't know if they care about the dirt. So just hang your bag. City rules is when the courts are full, 2 paddles or 4 paddles representing 2 or 4 people, you put the paddle down. Hey, Kathy, you just arrived? You want to play a game together? I take your paddle, and I put 2 paddles down here. Okay? That means that at the end of that game, the 2 of us are going to go onto that court. Okay? If we're 2 people, we look around at all the courts playing and we find a court that has people playing the way we want to play. Okay? Our skill level, our style, our friends, our whatever it is, we find an appropriate court for us. If it's 2 people. If we have 4 people, any court, you put 4 paddles down. 4 paddles down, that game ends, all 4 people leave, and those 4 new people go on the court. If the 4 people who are playing a game want to keep playing, they can just put their paddles right back down and go in the next game. Okay? If it's 2 people putting 2 paddles down, the winners have the right to stay on the court. By default, the winners stay on the court, and the people challenging come in. The winners aren't required to stay on the court, but that's their right, and normally that's what happens. So those are the rules. If you're on a court and you've just played the most fun game ever and the 4 of you want to keep playing together and 2 people put paddles down, you cannot say to them, hey, you know, we're really having fun, could you go to a different court? That's not okay. You can say, we're having so much fun, you take this court and we're going to go put our 4 paddles somewhere else. That's fine. But you can't tell people to go away. Most everybody at these courts understands those protocols. Occasionally you'll get somebody who's kind of a jerk who will say, boy, we're really having fun and we didn't really want to play with you, and would you please mind going to another court? If that happens, you have the right to make a scene and say, you can't say that to me. Or you can just say, that person is kind of a jerk and I'm going to find a different place to play. Okay? Now all the nuances. Let's say you come alone and you don't have a partner. Okay? If you come alone and you don't have a partner, often if you're coming at a time of day when other people are arriving, you just find the next person arriving and say, hey, you know, you want to be my partner. So now you have 2 people. Or you go up to a court and you say, I'm alone, I don't have a partner. Is it okay if I come in as a single person? Okay? The people on that court have the right to say, could you find a partner first? If you've played a few games with somebody and you really had a nice time, and you feel like I like being partners with this person, we're compatible, we have the same style, exchange phone numbers, and you'll start to build a group of people who all are kind of similar in their interests, and then you can, have a little chat group and say, I want to play tomorrow at 7:30, will somebody meet me? When there are empty courts, then that 2 or 4 paddle down rule is not enforced. That rule is only when all the courts are full. Okay, let's say my sisters are in town and we came out to play together, my sisters and my cousin. The 4 of us wanted to play together. We'll come at a time when the courts aren't really busy so that we can play together uninterrupted. So then, Chemo and Rob just arrived, they want to play a game. If they came and put their paddles down, even if there's empty courts, it's kind of like, then I have to say to them, we really didn't want to play with you, we had our own plan. On the other hand, if they arrived and they looked around, there were people they want to play with, it's completely reasonable and acceptable and normal for them to go up even when there's empty courts and say, can we come in the next game? Okay? You just ask. This is the most difficult and most contentious thing about having a pickleball venue. Because people's feelings get hurt, they get, like, somebody didn't like me, they didn't want to play with me. Think about everything you learned in kindergarten. Communicate clearly with people, be polite to people, be generous, articulate what you're looking for and work out the problems, if there's any problems. Okay, so that's how we share courts. If you go anywhere else, then just ask somebody how they do it there. Mountain View courts at Rangsdorf and Menlo Park courts at Nealon are not nearly as crowded as it is here, and they just have a rack of paddles in a row. So a game ends and those 4 people leave and the next 4 people start.